Hello, I'm Marcus Railton, and this is the ScotsCare podcast. ScotsCare is the only charity dedicated to helping disadvantaged Scots in London through a range of support, including mental health therapy, financial grants, advocacy, sheltered housing for older Scots, job coaching, social events, befriending, and support for children and families. The charity's been running for 400 years to help break the cycle of poverty experienced by some Scots in London. In this series of the ScotsCare podcast, I'll be chatting to celebrities and supporters of the charity that have forged a life often away from Scotland and about the ups and downs that can bring. Joining me for a chat today is Paisley lad and professional para table tennis player Martin Perry. For the last 4 years, he has been ranked in the top 25 in the world. He's been the US Open champion, twice the British champion, and twice European team champion. He's also won 50 international medals representing Great Britain. However, the thing to note is that Martin Perry's point of difference is that he has no hands and only one leg.
ScotsCare, supporting Scots away from home in London.
Hi Martin.
Hi Marcus.
Thanks for doing this.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to the chat.
Well, we're meant to do it this morning, weren't we? But you had to go and get your hair done.
Yeah, all one of them that was on top of my head this morning. I had to go and get it trimmed.
Well, see, you've now got the full shaved head look, and I think you really suit it. But I think I'd look like some kind of hairy billiard ball. But was there a point where you just said? Because I've seen photos of you playing table tennis with hair, and was there a point where you said, right, it's coming off now?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you can find photos even further back when I was a child, I had a really bad receding hairline. I was not follically blessed whatsoever. So you know, I've always had terrible hair, to be honest. And yeah, of course, I kept it for as long as I could, but I took the plunge at the ripe old age of 21, and that's when I started, deciding to shave my head and went down that route, and I like it. As you said, I think I look better with a shaved head. But I have to have the beard, otherwise I just look like a thumb.
Well, you suit it. And there's a place where we live, just outside London. There's a place at the bottom of my road. There's a Turkish barber's, and I always go there. And my wife goes, "Oh, they cut it too short. They cut it too short." But for 20 quid. They'll cut my hair, and they do the thing where they flame your ears. Have you ever had that done?
Yeah. So the barber that I went to for years and years when I lived back home in Paisley was a Moroccan barber, and he did the same. He flamed your ears, and the first time he did it, I got such a fright. I thought he was going to attack me or something, because he came out with this big flaming stick and started waving it at my face, and then lo and behold, I had silky smooth ears after that. But I was a bit upset because I didn't realise I had hairy ears until that point. So yeah,
that's the moment of reality when they say, "Would you like your eyebrows done, sir?" And you go, "Oh, cripes! There really is. Got these big hairy eyebrows." Yeah, no, it's the kind of burning smell that kind of puts me off, but the result's great. But let me ask you first of all, how does table tennis work? Is it like football? Do you have a season and an off season?
Well, for us, we have the ability to basically play all year round. But of course, you prioritise a season as such. So usually the para season, as it were, usually kicks off in March. It's usually the Italian Open. Obviously, that varies sometimes, year on year, and different tournaments sometimes open the calendar. But it tends to be March for us as the Italian Open. And that runs all the way through until about December time. But there's always able-bodied tournaments that we can compete in as para-athletes. We have that privilege that we can play able-bodied and para.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to, I could be playing all year round, but that causes burnout and things like that. So we try and go from like March until round about sort of September, October time. This season it's a little bit later because we've got the World Championships in November. They're usually a little bit earlier in the year. So we started off a little bit later this year and sort of started main competing in May this year with the Slovenian Open. And that gives us sort of, that sort of 6, 7, 8 month window of competing, and then we get a few months off to have pre-season and work on a lot of fitness stuff and footwork. So yeah, I guess it's yes and no. We do have a season and we don't, because as I said, we get that privilege of being able to play able-bodied competitions as well as para events.
Yeah. Do you like your downtime? Do you get to, like, in a normal year into December and think, I just want to put the bat down?
I like my downtime for like a brief period, and then I get really, really bored and antsy, and I just want to go and do something. So my wife hates it because she can see it coming. Like, as the days go on, I've not trained or went to the gym or something like that. She's like, "You're ready to explode," and I'm like, "Yeah," 'cause I just got so much energy that I want to go train. I want to go to the gym, and I suppose the gym's the easy one because I can do that as leisure as well as my job. But obviously training, it's sometimes really difficult for me to say no to someone that asks me if I want to train. So this week, just previous was really difficult for me because I really wanted to train, but I actually injured my back and I wasn't able to train for like 7-8 days. I only got back into training sort of last night, and that was really difficult for me because I felt like it had been taken out of my control.
Yeah.
But I was, of course, so eager to play and I couldn't do it. So downtime for me doesn't come very easy because I just want to keep going.
I suppose you got to be disciplined, haven't you? I mean, as a professional athlete, you can't say, "Oh, do you know what? I'll just go and do a little bit of training." If you've hurt your back or hurt another part, or hurt your shoulder or something, you've got to make sure you let it recover.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. As a professional athlete, you're always told, you can do more, you can push through, you can go in and achieve all these things, because you can draw inspiration from other athletes who will say the exact same. I didn't stop training, I trained 24/7, I did this, I did that, and it's like, but the reality is that they didn't, and you don't. It's very difficult to say no to training at times. But as you said, if you've got an injury like I did last week, I had to say no, because otherwise it would have been so detrimental to the rest of this season for me.
You mentioned there that you grew up in Paisley, but you're another Scot that has ventured south. Where are you based now?
I'm actually in sunny Dumbarton at the moment. Me and my wife have got a flat in Dumbarton, but I was based in Sheffield for just over 5 years. That was to train with the British para table tennis squad full time. But since COVID happened, I think a lot of people's lives changed, and especially their perspective on life. Yeah. So myself and a few other athletes have been spending a lot more time home at our local clubs where we sort of first began our table tennis journeys, and for various different reasons, for family and things like that, and of course table tennis. But I think with COVID, it changed my perspective on a lot of things, and I wanted to move home, and thankfully, the team have supported that to no end, and they've been great with me. And don't get me wrong, I still have to go down at least 1 week a month, where we do sort of like these camps where the entire squad comes together and we all train as a unit. But outside of that, they trust me to train as much as possible back home and to get a good setup back home, and that's definitely very different for me, going from having 5 years of structured 9 to 5 training, where every minute of every day was mapped out for me, to now obviously having to do all that on my own was a bit of a change, because I wasn't quite used to it. People always say, "Oh, athletes get spoiled and they get everything for them," and they're absolutely right. We do, so to go from that structure of having, as I said, like a 9 to 5 setup, to now, obviously, my training day is all over the place at the moment, just because being the only professional Scottish table tennis player, people have jobs that I have to now work around their schedule. So I train first thing in the morning sometimes, and then like last thing at night. And if someone's got space during the afternoon, I'll go train then as well. So it's definitely a different schedule, that's for sure.
Was it so? You moved at 2017. And then you got married 2018. So you must have spent a lot of time. You must have a very understanding wife. You must have spent a lot of time shooting back and forward from Sheffield to Dumbarton and back again.
Yeah. So, Siobhan's absolutely fantastic. She's so understanding of what I do and supports it tremendously. For a little while, Siobhan lived in Sheffield with me, but then her job pulled her back home when she was working in Glasgow. So it was difficult, don't get me wrong, because I was training Monday to Friday and then getting in the car and driving back sort of Friday evening to then come back down to Sheffield on a Sunday. And I was really mentally and physically very tiring. And we did that for about probably the first year and a half of being married. And then, not long after that, COVID hit. So, I thankfully, obviously, just about moved up in time because we got like a 2-week summer, not summer break. It was in March, sort of like winter break, sort of pre-season thing before it all kicked off properly. We got a break, and I went home for those sort of 2 weeks, and then COVID hit, and I've pretty much not left in terms of this being my base now back home. But yeah, those first sort of 18 months of being married was really, really difficult because for 4.5, 5 days of the week we didn't see each other. But maybe that's the key to longevity. I don't know.
Well, you know what? If sometimes I've got friends who live apart, work apart, and they've got great marriages, but horses for courses, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. But you're right. I think COVID was a leveler for a lot of us, where we kind of realised what was important in our lives and what we wanted, and for a lot of people out there doing jobs, it's not like a lifelong passion, and it's just that, oh, sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to change my life.
ScotsCare, supporting Scots away from home in London.
But can you explain to us what congenital limb loss is and how or why that happens?
So congenital limb loss is when you are born. For me, actually, so congenital limb loss and deformity. So that is, it happens in the womb before you're born, and when you are born, there will be, some birth defects with regards to your limbs. So for myself, I don't have any hands. My right arm stops sort of mid forearm, just a little bit shy of my wrist, and my left arm stops at my elbow. My left leg currently stops just at my knee joint. When I was younger, I had a little bit more of a leg, but due to some complications, the lower half of my left leg got removed when I was 10, and my right leg is fully formed. So, 1 out of 4 is not bad. I'll take it. But for what we could determine, there is no sort of cause or reason behind congenital limb loss and deformity. It's just simply one of those things that happens, and it just so happens that it happened to me. But to be honest, I find myself incredibly lucky, to have been born with no hands and one leg. I find it such a gift because I've not had to go through anything traumatic. I've not had a serious illness or injury or, some form of terrible accident that's resulted in me being, disabled. And, for that, I'm incredibly thankful and grateful for. And it's allowed me to just grow up and live life and learn how to do things my own way, just like anyone else would. I don't really feel restricted by my disability at all, to be honest.
Everything I read about you is very inspiring. And I was showing my kids you playing table tennis, and actually Rafe, my 9-year-old, I was showing him, there was a bit, and your prosthetic leg, your limb, and he went, "Oh, is this guy a real Terminator?" And I went, "I've seen him play table tennis. This guy is a Terminator." Right? And I love the innocence of kids where he didn't see a disability in any way. He just went, "Wow, that is so cool." But was it tough growing up in Paisley?
I mean, at times, yeah, of course, there was some bullying and things like that. But I don't know why, I've always been incredibly resilient. I've always had a sort of can-do attitude, and it was never really a choice to feel sorry for myself or to, let myself get beat up mentally about, what people were saying or what they were doing towards me. So I don't really know where that sort of mental fortitude has came from. I guess I owe a lot of it, I suppose, to my family. I've got 3 older brothers, and obviously my parents, and they, for want of a better phrase, they didn't really care that I was disabled. They didn't wrap me up in cotton wool, and they didn't treat me any different. I was just one of the 4 sons. So there was no special treatment there whatsoever. And now that I think about it, I guess that shaped me massively. You know, it helped me become who I am, because I don't see myself as any different. My brothers certainly don't see myself any different, and I can assure you, Siobhan doesn't treat me any special. My wife, so you know, it's something that I guess just being born like this and having to just be this way has shaped me massively. But you know, I'm actually very, very thankful for it.
And being the youngest as well, you know, I get two boys, and who are 13 and 9, and then my little girl is 4, and she's the youngest, and she's the toughest. And I wonder, you know, it's because I think as the youngest, you've got to fight for your corner, haven't you? You've got to, you know, there's 2 other kids, or in your case, 3 other brothers, all saying that's mine, give me that, you know, which your mum must have been driven to distraction.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I don't envy her one bit. You know, having 4 boys all grown up in the one household, just, I mean, from my memories, it was carnage, you know. So, you know, I dread to think what she thinks of it looking back. But yeah, you know, of course, you know, it's 4 young kids. You're going to have fights and squabbles like all siblings do, but you're going to have a lot of good times as well, you know. And
I like the fact that you're talking about your brothers involving you in football from the get-go.
Yeah, they did. You know, they tried to use my disability as an advantage. Actually, you know, they used to chuck me in goals, thinking that I wasn't going to save the ball because I didn't have any hands. And that just made me more determined to prove them wrong. And then I did. So they got fed up, and you know, they found another way to, I guess, bully me. But it was bully me with love. You know, like all good brothers do. So, but yeah, they tried to obviously use it to their advantage by putting me in goals, and you know, that just made me more determined to show them that I could do it. And I guess, you know, having that input from them, you know, they would never have thought about that. They were only a couple of years older than me. They just wanted to score more goals than the other brother, you know. Yeah. But I guess without them even thinking about it, that gave me such a determined and strong-willed attitude that I still carry today.
You were 17 when you came to table tennis. And was it a light bulb moment for you? Did you actually, when you first picked up a bat, did you think, I could be great at this?
Absolutely not. I was beyond dreadful. I could barely play, let alone barely hold the bat. But I enjoyed it. That's the first and foremost that I took away from table tennis. And I yet to find someone who's played table tennis and not enjoyed it. Whether they take it up as a sport or a hobby, that doesn't matter. But you know, I challenge anyone to play table tennis and not have a good time. And that's what it was for me. I just had fun, you know, and I really enjoyed it. And I found, you know, this relatively local club, Drumchapel Table Tennis Club, and I started going along. And yeah, it was just it was good fun, but I didn't think it was, you know, going to take over my life and become my job. And then I had the privilege of going down to watch London 2012, the Paralympic Games, and wow, I was just absolutely blown away and mesmerized that there was people just like me captivating not only the people of London, but the people of the world, and showing them that, you know, disability really isn't a barrier. And from then on, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to get good at this sport, because I want to be just like those guys. And, you know, I put my head down. I worked incredibly hard, and everyone at Drumchapel Table Tennis Club, they supported me fantastically. You know, when I came home from London and said that I wanted to be a Paralympian, they could quite easily have just laughed at me and said, well, you're not very good, so just be quiet and go back to playing. But actually, you know, they were so supportive and said, right, let's do it. Let's do this together. And everyone at the club, you know, as I said, just have continued that support to this day. And you know, after being at London within sort of 3 short years, I was living and training alongside the guys that I'd watched take medals for Great Britain, you know. And I guess that's just a testament to where hard work and dedication can take you. But you know, now that I've been doing this for a number of years now, it's, you know, it's something that I want to emulate myself, as you know, is go to the Paralympic Games in Paris in 2024 and you know, hopefully bring back major medals for my country.
Now, any sporting biographies that I've read, the athlete always talks about the fundamental importance of the coach. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, you know, I think like any sort of positive role model and figure in your life, someone that's going to instill growth in you is someone that's going to believe in you, and lean on you when you need to be leaned on, and told that you're not, pulling your weight, but equally support you when those things are going well. So for me, Terry at Drumchapel Table Tennis Club, he was my first coach. And he still coaches me to this day, and he's been so supportive. It was him that first sort of got me involved in the game. He took me to my first tournaments, back when I couldn't drive, or I'd stay at the club too late to get public transport home. He'd drive me from Drumchapel to Paisley and then go back home himself, just because he wanted me to keep playing. And that support and everything that he's done for me is, I'm beyond grateful for. And then to obviously move down south to the full-time setup where you're now working with 4 or 5 different coaches at one time, and everyone's got their own input. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't grow and get better. When you've got that many top quality coaches and athletes in the one room, you can only improve.
Is Terry hard on you? I mean, in a good
yeah,
way.
He can be. Yeah, he can be. Thankfully, these days, I like to think that I do a little bit more winning than losing, so he's not got too much to moan about. But he is hard on me simply because he wants the best for me. He wants me to achieve my goals and my dreams, and he understands what it means to me. So he is hard on me when he needs to be, but equally, he's incredibly quick to tell me, you've done a good job there, and I'm proud of you. So that goes a long way as well.
I think it is that kind of carrot and stick. I think I've had 2 or 3 mentors in my life, and they've been extraordinarily hard on me at times. I remember when I moved to London, and I got a job as a journalist, and I was working for this guy called Nick Lloyd. I think he used to be editor of the Express or something. I can't remember. And he was terrifying, Martin, terrified the life out of me. And I remember he called me into his office, and he went, "Oh yeah, okay." And he always mumbled, "Yeah, sit down, son." And he said to me, "I just want you to know you're better than the last person that did this job." And I went, "Oh, thanks, Nick." He went, "But you're still not good enough." And I was gutted at that point. I was just, oh my Lord, yeah. But I still now that I look back on it, I kind of think the learning curve was massive. And I think sometimes the coaches have got to be so hard on you to bring the best out of what you can be.
Yeah, I completely agree, and especially when you take it into a professional setup as an athlete, you've got to be willing to take criticism almost every day, especially in a skills sport. If my coach sees that I'm doing something slightly wrong with my technique, or the ball's not going just quite where I want it on the table, from an outsider looking in, they can spot that a lot quicker. And you've got to be able to take that criticism and to just, take it on the chin and accept it, because ultimately they're telling you what you're doing isn't good enough because they want you to be better, not because they're trying to hurt you or belittle you or put you down. Because ultimately, within our British para table tennis setup, we consider ourselves as a family. So if one of us gets better, we all get better, and if one of us grows, we all grow. So we are very open and honest with each other. Probably to the point where, if you were to say the things that we say to each other in any other environment, especially a working environment, you'd be probably called straight into HR. But, I think as athletes, and you have to have that dynamic with a coach where, you can be told you're not doing a very good job, or, this has to improve, or this has to get better. But, I think with a great coach or a great mentor, like you said, that's got to be balanced with the good stuff, and the things that you are doing well, and that's what the great coaches can do is instill that belief in you, and still have the ability to make you want to improve and to work with each other.
ScotsCare, the charity helping to break the cycle of poverty some Scots find in London.
When I've watched you on YouTube and other videos, it's a massively physical game. I mean, I know this sounds odd, but there is an aggression to it when I watch you play, and I mean that in a positive way. I mean, it's a non-combat, non-touch sport, but you're there. Is that something you need to be? Are you a pumped up player, or are you one of these players that kind of gets into a kind of zen-like state before a game?
No, I'm definitely more pumped up, and it's quite an odd one because like in everyday life, I think that I'm pretty chill, pretty laid back. But as soon as I get on the table tennis table, I've often had folk telling me like, "You're looking at me like you want to hit me," and I'm like, well, only a little bit, But yeah, I think that comes from being so competitive with my brothers growing up. That I always wanted to win, and of course they always wanted to beat me. So I think playing sport has come quite naturally to me, and to be as competitive as I am, I think definitely suits me on the table. But yeah, it's something that I'm so glad you said it's a lot more physical, because the amount of folk that just say, oh, you just stand at a table and move your arm about, and it's like it's actually really tough.
I was wondering how tough it is on your leg. I mean, on where the prosthetic joins your actual limb, does that take a pounding because you bounce back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, I guess physically it does, but I wear like a protective liner on the inside that's like a really nice, thick, soft, spongy, like silicone gel.
Yeah.
And that protects the stump, the limb that's in there, and it stops any sort of like vibrations or shock waves coming through. So I actually don't really feel it too much on the left leg. What hurts the most usually is my back, because I'm so bloody tall and a table tennis table is quite low. And then obviously you add in that I've got these little short arms, so I need to reach for everything with my back. So
of course.
So yeah, for me it's a lot of back pain and a lot of back trouble. But we have top class physiotherapists, and we work with great sports science teams and things like that. So I get the best medication that they can provide, to be honest, is usually just a foam roller and a yoga mat. When things get a bit too painful, we can get some proper hands-on treatment and make sure that we're fighting fit and ready to go.
And you're so focused, Martin, and you're so dedicated. So how much did it hurt when you missed out so narrowly on Tokyo, the 2020 Olympics?
Wow, I never thought I would cry over a sport. I mean, it's just not really my nature. And then I lost in the qualification tournament for Tokyo, and I bawled my eyes out. I couldn't speak for like well over an hour. I didn't know what to say. My wife, she was watching the live stream back home, and she called me, and I just couldn't speak to her. Like, I just had no words. I felt so low at that point, because everything that I'd been working towards since London, really, since watching the guys play, that was like an 8-year journey to my eyes that were solely fixed on it for such a long time. I knew Rio would be too close in 2016, and then for 2020, obviously it was an 8-year journey that, because of COVID, turned into a 9-year journey. And it was one of those things that I even lost it on like what you would call like an edge ball, so it's when the ball clips the edge of the table, and just because of that it doesn't bounce, it just it keeps traveling down, and it's so hard to retrieve. And I was absolutely devastated. As I said, just a lot of tears, a lot of anger, frustration, disappointment, every emotion but happy. And it was one of those times where I was just like, what's been the point in these last 9 years? And then after a couple of weeks of feeling sorry for myself and sitting on the couch playing a PlayStation, my wife gave me a good talking to, and before I knew it, I was back, fully focused on qualifying for Paris and this year's World Championships, which are in November. And then so there's definitely more to this story. It's not just the fact that I didn't qualify for Tokyo and I just gave up and felt sorry for myself. There's still goals and aspirations there, and things to aim for that I certainly have my sights firmly set upon.
You're still quite young, aren't you? 27, 28? How long can you go on for?
I'm 28. Going on about 40 to look at, but the baldness doesn't help on that front. But 28, and I think I've got at least another 6 or 7 years. I think being a para athlete, a lot of the times you can naturally have a slightly longer career to your sort of run-of-the-mill athletes. And being a lower classification, which I am, which means I'm more severely disabled, you can actually usually milk it a little bit longer. Just because the nature of the game is as physical as you've witnessed. I'm not putting myself through what an able-bodied athlete would do simply because I physically can't. So their body tends to break down a little bit quicker, and when it does, it's a little bit harder on the joints. Whereas for myself, my body won't really allow those physical elements to come into it too much because it's something that I can't do. So I'm hoping at least another 5, 6, 7 years, maybe a little bit longer, but it all just depends on how my career pans out, and we never know what's going to happen these days, and how things change so quickly, as we're all aware of now.
Yeah. But looking positively, we could be looking at another 2 Olympics. We could be looking at Paris and then
Paris and then LA. Yeah, I mean, that would be. The thing is, there's never a good time to step away. You look at you've got the Paralympics in Paris. France is beautiful. Then you've got the Paralympic Games in 2028 in LA. After that, it's going back to, we're going other side of the world, going to Australia. So like, how can you say no to go into these fantastic places all over the world? So there's never a good time to step down and say goodbye. So I really don't know how long I'm going to play for. I guess I'll play for as long as they'll have me. That's my answer at the moment.
There might just be a natural feeling that you kind of go, now my time is up. I think sometimes it's better if we make the decision rather than the decision is made for us. I think that's my experience in life.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's, I guess, when it comes to it, that's probably when I will step down. When I feel like I'm not at that level anymore. But I hope that doesn't come for a long time anyway, for the foreseeable future, because I love what I do. I think I've got one of the best jobs in the world. I get to travel, I get to meet incredible people, see fantastic places, and I get to do it whilst having fun, chasing a little white ball around the table with a plank of wood strapped to my hand. So I'm not complaining anytime soon, that's for sure.
Martin, that's been great talking to you. Can I just finish from a quote from you, actually? I read that you said, "My name is Martin Perry. I have no hands and one leg, and I wouldn't change it for the world." I think that's brilliant.
And it's true. I wouldn't. It's, as I said, being disabled and being involved in table tennis has shaped my life so much in ways that I couldn't ever imagine. And yeah, I certainly wouldn't change the way I am.
Martin, thank you for joining me today.
ScotsCare, for Scots in London in need of support, financial, practical, or emotional.